The previous video, if you remember, we made a little bracket. It was the first thing we've ever made. And we had this moment where um, we noticed that the drawing was really ugly. Like it's really, really ugly and kind of hard to understand. And actually, there's a better way to annotate this. There's a better way to create things. It's more efficient. It gives you really cool side effects. But we didn't do it because I thought at the time, let's just get any drawing, even an ugly drawing, in there, so we can focus on just doing the minimal stuff we have to do. But in this time, before we move on to other things, let's revisit this bracket. Let's make it again, but let's make it from the context of how to do it a little bit more professionally, how to do it a little bit more in a sophisticated way. Because there's really interesting and valuable side effects if you're going to start like actually making 3D stuff. So anyway, so let's without further ado, let's go make our second bracket in the cool, fun, smart way. Let's see. We're going to go to the Onshape little menu thing here. That's called My First Bracket Yo. Seems like it makes sense that we would make a My Second Bracket Yo. And we'll create that thing. Remember, we're going to do the camera. We're going to go from the top view here on the table. So click the sketch button. Need to select a sketch plane. That is the sketch plane. Now we have these drawings. We want to be looking at the top of the table here. And all we had to do was create a corner rectangle and a corner rectangle. And at this point, I think things would be the same, but there's something cooler that we can do at this moment rather than just start adding the measurements. What we can do is we'll go ahead and accept this sketch. And there is a thing inside Onshape and lots of these things called variables. Probably remember from like junior high, math or whatever, like y equals mx plus b and all that stuff. And then you're trying to sort of, the value of x can change. So it's a pretty good thing here. We're using that. So if you hit this button, you get this thing on the left. It's red, which means you have something to do just like before. And we want to name it. And we want to name this, I don't know. We'll just call it the width for now. And we want the value to be 10 millimeters. And so now we have this one called width, and we're going to do one called height, even though these are not really great names actually, but any name is better than no name in this particular thing. So now we've done this thing. You can probably guess where we're going with this, right? We have those two dimensions that we had to deal with, and we had also the radius, or we can do it by radius diameter. I keep saying the wrong word there. So we have 3 millimeters was the total size of that hole. And so now we're going to use these to actually make the drawing better. But you're like, well, wait a minute, you closed the sketch. Well, you can go back to some of these layers and you can re-edit them. You can actually drag the order around, and the order does make a difference. Since we created the sketch first and the variable second in this particular order of history, Sketch wouldn't have access to these variables, so we actually have to drag this down. And so these things were created first. We sort of altered the time stream here, and we're going to open the sketch again. So you double click it, and now it's popped back up. Remember, the toolbar changed, so you can watch out for that. And we're going to do this one more time from the perspective of sort of making the measurements cleaner and using these variables here. So just like we did before, we're going to make that corner sketch construction box to sort of start things off. We're going to make it in the upper left hand corner. And now that we've done that, we are going to go back and assign the width as 5. Now we had a lot of 5s in here. Let us actually go back. Oh no, how do you drop the tool? You hit escape, and sometimes you have to, and we're going to undo what we just did, because I made a mistake actually. Let's go and do the top one. The top one, if you remember in the description, we said would be half of that width. And so in here, we can actually say, oh, there it is, there's width, and then we can say divided by 2. And now that width is divided by 2. We can go back in here, we shrink the whole thing, we didn't want that, but let's go in here and we can say that is the height. And just hit, and I'm hitting enter actually, it's accepting it, I'm just hitting it multiple times. And right here we could do this also. We could use the height again. The other thing we can do I just pushed escape and I'm going to undo, is we can use the equality, the equal symbol. So going up to the top, we have this dimensions, but we actually have what's called a constraint, which is sort of like, it's just, I don't know how to really give you a good conceptual model of this other than say, these are like little mathematical formulas, like if this is true, then this must also be true. And we're going to say we want things to be equal. So we're going to select this side here. And we're going to say this side should equal that side. You see how it just got a little longer? Let's do it one more time. Undo. Watch this little side on the right here. I'm going to hit the equal sign, then the equal tool, and then I'm going to say on the left, select that line, and that all lines I select need to be equal. See how it popped over? If I selected, say, this line, it's going to break because it can't for some reason be 3. Oh wait, that's not what happens. There we go. I just had to do 2 at a time. So I undid it. So now we want to go back and we want to do, say, this side. It makes our drawing a little better. We want that to be what we call width, I guess, right? So I'd start typing in the name of it, and then it comes up, and I can click it, or I can hit enter. Now that's the one, and I want this side to equal that side. So I'm going to hit the equal sign. I'm going to go select this edge, and then I'm going to select this edge, and now they're both 10. So now our drawing is a little cleaner, right? We have a little more space. Let me push escape to drop that tool. I'm going to put this here. That's a little prettier. I'm going to put this in here. That's a little bit prettier. And now we have this kind of in a prettier drawing. What's really interesting at this point is that we can go back and change these variables. So if I were to change this to 20, and it's one of the downsides of the app is that it's a little harder. It doesn't necessarily do things in real time for you like that, but you see how it's drastically different looking. And we go back to 10 like we wanted, and now it redraws it for you, which is really, really handy. Because then you can, this is a parametric CAD, and so it just means that there's parameters, there's math going on behind the scenes. And so you could scale this up. If you had that, I used a very tiny little piece of metal, but there's actually T-slot aluminum that's very large, and so you could scale this up to match, and you could reuse a lot of this. So it's pretty handy. So let's go through and finish off this thing really quickly without much ado. We know that we wanted those 2 lines, right? And that they were, and I'm going to have to hit escape to cancel that, and that this side and this side, now I'm selecting the sides first, we want them to be equal. And we defined this one, so it can't change. So the other one has to change. That's how it works. It's like we defined one of them, and then we set them both to be equal, and now that's at 5, 5 across here. We'll do the same thing here. We'll say we want this to be 10. Should we go ahead and reuse that width? It's a good question. Probably not conceptually. I'm going to go ahead and type 10 for now, because I think what I might do is call that hole spacing and make a new variable. But we could use width, but then if I change the width of the brackets, then the depth of the hole would shift. And so I'll just go ahead and type 10. I'm going to escape to drop the tool. I'm going to select the 2 lines I want to be equal, and then I'm going to hit the equal button, and now they're equal. And then let's do that again. Here to here, hit escape to drop the tool, select the 2 lines. Let's select all the lines. So all of those have to be equal. And now they're all equal. You see that little shift that happened? And so now this is a much cleaner drawing. And you can go and you can change these variables, and it can grow and shrink. And if you were to do this, you might want to add 1 extra variable for this hole spacing and use that instead. So that could also be dynamic. And then we have this thing, and then we could then say, let's go ahead and deal with the extrusion depth. We'll call it thickness, and we'll say it's 2. And we'll hit enter, and then we will go and we'll hit this extrude button, and we will select these faces that we want. There's the depth there, and we'll go in, we'll select this little depth field, and we'll start typing in pound thickness, and then hit tab again, and now it's the thickness, right? And then remember, the first time you do a 3D operation, it'll make your sketch hidden, so you'll want to unhide that so we can use it. We're going to go back to this table here. And then we wanted to make holes, right? So we probably care about the, we already did radius, right? Hey, look at that. So we're going to select all these holes. We're going to go select the hole tool. It's made all these holes for us. And all we want to do is use, I think I called it diameter, because I keep saying radius, and I mean diameter. And then hit tab, and it's there. And that's it. Now we've done this from the perspective of a little more sophistication, a little bit more dynamism. We have these variables that we can change. Now, if I want those holes to get smaller, I can go in, I hit tab, and now I have smaller holes. And so in this way, when you make a mistake or you need to do a revision or something like that, you have a very simple, easy way to go change those values, and it'll be really helpful for you. So, hopefully making the same thing twice didn't annoy you. Hopefully that revisiting it from a different perspective sort of reinforce some of the original skills. And that's it. I think what we're going to do now is next video, we're going to go ahead and go through the process of slicing this up and submitting it to someone to manufacture it for us. So hopefully you'll find that useful and interesting, and then that'll complete the design to fabrication loop in the smallest way that I know how, and then from there we'll start building on skills. We'll make things for 3D printers, we'll make things for CNC mills. Hopefully you're enjoying what we're going with this and that it's useful. You have a good time, and cheers.